Hello STEM Read viewers, and welcome to Robot Redux. My name is Steve Roman, and I'm the Teen Librarian at DeKalb Public Library and their resident expert on science fiction. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the history of robots in science fiction media, and how that culminates up to Daniel Wilson's Robopocalypse. Robot comes to the English language from a Czech play called Rossum's Universal Robots, and the word robot comes to us from a Proto-Slavic root, basically means forced labor or slave labor. And because of that, the history of robots in science fiction is usually fraught with peril and violence and rebellion. What you find is that in a lot of robot fiction, a lot of robot media, they have to deal a lot with the ethics of creating something with its own mind, but then treating it like an object. This comes up, for example, in 1968's 2001: A Space Odyssey film, where the HAL 9000 starts getting a little glitchy. It's an artificial intelligence that runs a spaceship with a whole bunch of human explorers, and the human explorers want to shut it down, and it starts defending itself. Now, in 1950, Isaac Asimov wrote a book called I, Robot that was later made into a film. It's one of the few examples of humans using intelligence rather than guns to try and quell robot rebellion. Asimov went on to write an entire line of books featuring robot characters that had the 3 laws of robotics. These laws of robotics, of course, were meant to be instilled in the programming to keep the robots from becoming violent or rising up against humanity. Now, occasionally, you will get heroic robots, or at least semi-heroic robots. You have, of course, C-3PO and R2-D2 from the Star Wars films. And you even have the Transformers, right? That started with a toy line in 1984 and still going strong. But more often than not, you end up with things like the Terminator. You also end up with the Matrix, which again finally leads us to Robopocalypse, in which you have an artificial intelligence who realizes that all of its previous iterations were wiped out by its creator because the creator was still trying to find a way to keep it under control. This, of course, leads to the artificial intelligence building an army of robots and using all our technology against us. So, sadly, we only have a very few real instances of heroic robotic characters. Most of the time, robots are not our friends, and this, of course, returns us back to the question of why and the ethics of whether or not we should be creating something that might be able to think for itself.